Good to go? All right, thanks, guys. All right, so I'm Jonas, as Tim said. Appreciate him inviting me here. Started a company, Socially Present, about 5 years ago, and we specialize in digital storytelling. It's kind of our bent. And a little bit of background. I kind of go through this presentation, and we're going to watch a few films. That's me. This is my kids. They're my pride and joy. I've got a 10, 8, and 5-year-old. Definitely a big driver of why I do what I do. I'm a firm believer that whatever you do, it needs to have a purpose. It needs to have a vision. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking at marketing from an aspect of, I want to grow my own company or I want to grow my own business, it better be something you really love and something you believe in and that you're passionate about. And you've got to have a driver and a reason behind it. And this is a big reason behind why I do what I do and some of the philosophy of why I build my company the way I built it. So I was going to show you guys a film. It's just kind of an intro film to who we are, and shares a little bit of our philosophy and our bend towards storytelling. So it's 3 minutes, so I'm just going to push play on this and hope you enjoy it.
You know, stories are incredible things. If I told you that my father loved me, it wouldn't quite do it justice. But if I told you that my father was a home painter and that he had 6 kids and that he worked incredibly long hours and would come home with calluses on his hands and would pray over me at night with those hands, and even though he worked 50, 60 hours a week, he always took time to spend with me and show that love to me, I think you'd have a little bit better idea of how my father cared for me. And that's what a story does. It takes an idea and it brings life to it. We like to say that we're not marketers, but we're digital storytellers. The world's full of new technology and these new avenues of communication. But one of the oldest forms of communication is storytelling. And communicating concepts and ideas through stories is something that's been around forever. And it's a timeless approach to create a memorable brand. So when we sit down with a client, we try to listen for those stories and how we can communicate that to their market through these digital platforms. And when we sit down and we do that, you combine both that timeless approach with this modern marketing. I don't take that responsibility lightly when someone comes to me and they've poured their heart and soul into a business and they're asking us to help them succeed. You know, that's something I take very personally. It's not every day that you get to work with people that are not just co-workers, but they're friends and their families, and people that genuinely care about your business as much as you do. And I always say when I'm sitting down with someone, you know, you can teach skills and you can teach business, but you can't teach passion. And when I look at every person on our team, the thing that really is distinctive above everything else is that they care. They're not just here to collect a check, they're here to help people succeed. And it's something that we just have a good time with. We enjoy the creative process of building something that makes someone successful.
All right. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of insight into who we are as a company and some of our core values. The thing that, since we're kind of short on time, we don't have a ton of time together, the part I really felt is the most important and sometimes gets missed in marketing, and the approach is the philosophy. And when I say marketing, because I don't want to do it with a professor here, you always got to specify. And this is more the promotional side of marketing, not necessarily logistics, distribution, manufacturing, pricing. All those are a part of marketing. What we deal with mostly is the communication plan and the strategy to kind of roll out the advertising. And so this definition of marketing kind of applies to that The ultimate goal of marketing is to make selling non-essential, to know and understand the customer and tell your story so well that the product or service fits him or her and sells itself. So when we're communicating, we want to communicate with such clarity that people understand clearly what that product or service does and how it solves their customer's problem or their client's problem. And so that's what we really try to do, because it's not about pushing, sales anymore. It's really about communicating that you have a solution to someone who's already out there looking for a solution to their problem. They're already out there. There's already companies out there that need someone to help them promote. So we don't have to just say, hey, you need to hire us so we can boost your business or push your business. We just have to tell our story and with clarity to where they understand that what we do can help them accomplish their goals. And so that's really where the biggest change has happened, in the last several decades, is that we came out of this manufacturing era where it's just make a bunch of product and then you go out and you sell all that product. Well, the world's changed quite a bit since then, and so it's really, marketing has kind of evolved out of that to where you're listening to the market's needs and you're developing product and service that meets that needs. And the approach that has kind of been lost in marketing and advertising in general is the transaction versus relationship. During that era, there was a lot of, let's push this product. It's all product-centered. And it was, our product's great, our service is great, it's all about us, instead of valuing the relationship with the customer. And so this kind of shows, product-centered, you make one sale, yeah, you make $50 or whatever that product's worth. But if you burn them in that process, then they may never buy from you again. But if you focus not on selling the product, but on building a new relationship, then that relationship can yield much more than that. 10, 100-fold what that $50 product can make. So with that, also in this advertising era, you have all this stuff and all this noise, and everywhere you look, there's billboards and there's TVs and there's radio and all these different things that are competing for our attention. Do y'all agree? I'm telling you, I'm almost positive I know the reason why people are so ADD now. It's Saturday morning cartoons. That was it. It trained me to think in 30-second topics. I was like, 30 seconds. Oh, and now I want this. Oh, I want this. I want this. So every 30 seconds, my brain switched gears, and that's kind of what advertising has done. Is it's just competed for our attention. Talk to me, and it's all about them. It's all about what their company can do and what their product or service, and it's created this massive amount of noise. And a lot of people say the solution is you just have to talk louder. If you talk louder than the next guy, you spend more money on the ads on TV, you can beat them out. Well, that doesn't work for the little guy. And it's very disconnected and it's very transaction-centered. So what's happened is the solution that people have said, will talk louder, has actually contributed to more of the problem. There's more and more noise. You know what I'm saying? And then we also live in this world that's very disconnected. Everybody's kind of in their own zone on their iPhone or their device, their mobile device, or their computer, and you're sitting around in the living room, and your kid's on his iPad, and you're on your phone, and your wife's watching TV, and your daughters are in there on YouTube or whatever it might be. And so there's a lot of the world has become very disconnected and very noisy, and so it's kind of created this desperate mentality somewhat in our promotions, where everybody's wanting this return on investment. They're all trying to figure out how they can get in front of people, and everyone's screaming for the attention. And every site that's coming out, let's build another website. Let's build add another this, add another that. And it's focused on return on investment, which we should be concerned with as marketers and as companies. We want a good return on investment. We invest. But what it's lost is some of the humanity of the human connection and the very foundations of what sometimes can't be measured, and that's relationships. Relationships, you can't always put a number on it, and you can't always put measure the return on what goosebumps feel like. When you're inspired, or you hear a story, or somebody says something that you just enjoy and you like to hear. You can't always put a value on that, and I believe that what we've done sometimes in our in our landscape of marketing is we've pushed for return on investment so much that we've lost touch with that. And in an effort to try to be number focused and profit focused, we've kind of threw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, we've kind of created this thing to where we're like, oh, well, relationships you can't measure, let's not do that. But it doesn't mean that they don't impact us. And I always use this example, like when I first met my wife, it was her beauty and her personality that drew me to her and opened my ears to hear more of what she had to say. She didn't give me a resume or a spreadsheet and say, this is who I am, or I would have probably tossed it out. It wouldn't really appeal to me. But it was that human connection and that emotion that grabbed my attention and opened my ears to the information of who she was. And what we do in our marketing is we try to give all the information. This is who we are. This is what we can do. This is how we can do it. Instead of first just simply connecting with another human being. Does that make sense? So it's something that has really, I've seen really changed the way that we've approached marketing. And you heard in the film, you know, that stories are a big thing for us. And stories are a very unique way to package up information, and not just package just the information, but the inspiration and the core values and the demonstration of who someone is through a story or through a parable. So if you have, sometimes, you know, if I give you the facts, they're lost in some of the noise that goes on. But if I tell you a story, it can stick with you a whole lot longer. Do y'all agree with that? I mean, how many of y'all can remember stories from when you were little bitty, or some parable, or something you heard in Bible school, you know, and it still sticks with you today? You know, and I always think, you know, like, you know, Jesus was the greatest storyteller ever. And he chose stories to communicate ideas that from heaven, he said, this is a different world, different language, but he chose stories as a vessel of communication to take those stories and communicate them to people here. So you think about that. You think about what that means and how powerful a story can be to package information up and display it or share it with someone else. So here's a few things. Why is your story so important? It communicates who you are and your values. It communicates the benefits of your product or service. It's much more memorable than facts. It creates common experience. Blake Mikowski, how many of y'all are familiar with him, with Tom's Shoe Company? Has anybody heard of Tom's Shoe Company? They do a system to where you buy a pair of shoes and they give a pair of shoes to someone in another country. And great book. If you're interested in being an entrepreneur, it's a great book that he has that is Start Something That Matters. Highly recommend it. But it kind of talks about the power of a story. And I always use this story because I feel like it really demonstrates my point. There's a concept called giver's gain, and we're part of this networking group. Been a part of it for several years, and the concept is that if I give you business and help you grow your business, then in return you'll want to give me business, and it'll pass referrals back and forth. And so the concept, that makes sense, right? So if I do you a favor, chances are, you know, if you know someone who's needing some marketing or some advertising, you'll be like, you know, Jonas did me this favor, helped me grow my business, helped me do this, I'm going to help him, right? So that all makes sense. And we get that in our head. But I want to tell you a story of when I was younger. I was probably about 19, and we were doing a fundraiser. And we thought we were going to try to tackle the world, and we had some friends that were missionaries. And we were trying to raise $3,000 for a well in Africa for them. And so we had this brilliant idea, we felt like. We thought, we're going to collect water. We're going to have people donate water. And we're going to sell that water at the Superman Festival because there's all these people there for $1 a piece, and surely we can sell 3,000 bottles of water someplace where there's, you know, 50,000 people. It's like, you know, this is going to be easy. I mean, not a big deal. And so we collect all this water, and we have a concert the first night, and we think, okay, the concert's going to be when we get the most. That's kind of our big night, and then we're going to kind of sell through the rest of the festival. And so after the concert night was my time to come sell the water. And I come in Saturday morning, and there's still this mountain of water that had not been touched. And I'm like, I can tell just, you know, by the atmosphere, things were not very good. And I was like, so what, you know, how'd we do on our sales? And they were like, well, we sold about $250. That's what we made last night. And I was like, oh man. So it just kind of heart sunk. And we're like, oh man, we're doing this wrong. And I'm sitting there and people are walking by and I'd never seen anything like it. People are avoiding us like the plague. I mean, they don't want to come. They're like, those people are going to try to ask for money. Don't want anything to do with them. They're trying to sell water. And there was this family, this husband and wife and their kid didn't have any shoes on, didn't have a shirt on. You could tell that they were struggling probably financially by our standards, or, you know, or by American standards. And it was kind of like, you know, maybe they don't have an extra dollar to give. You know, maybe some of these people don't have that. And we were sitting there and we were thinking, you know, this thing's kind of a bust. Let's just mark the dollar off and let's just give this water away for free. These people, it's 100 degrees out here. It's blazing hot. Let's just give this water away for free. And so we marked the dollar off, put the signs up, free water, ice cold water. Tons of people walking up to us. We're giving them water, and something amazing starts happening. As we give these bottles of water, people aren't just dropping dollars in. They're like, oh, thank you. What are you guys doing? You know, this is awesome. Yeah, here's $20. Here's $50. Here's $100. Here's 10, 5. And we raised every bit of that $3,000 that day. And what I learned from that was that when you give, and when you're generous, and you lead first with giving, that creates this atmosphere of generosity where people want to give back. Now, I tell that story because I told you the concept of giver's gain, and y'all said in your heads you got that, right? Before I ever told the story. But when you tell that story, how much of it did you feel? You know, at the end of it, how much were you like, you know, kind of inspired that, man, people are pretty decent human beings, you know, they're not bad. And so I tell that story because I think it kind of demonstrates that you know, that story will be more memorable than some guy up here talking about giver's gain. You know, you'll remember that long after. So here's the unique thing about messaging and when you're communicating to try to sell your product or service and how to position your story. So in every story, there's an anatomy of a story, and you can kind of see, and I'm not going to get into all of these different things, but you have some pretty basic things. You have this main character that's on this journey. In most every, and I always use little Star Wars because I'm a nerd. So you got this Luke Skywalker. He's on a journey. He's finding himself, and he's presented, and he realizes this is my calling. This is what I've got to do. And then you have this supporting cast that kind of enters, this Yoda, this guy, this teacher that equips him, and he goes on and he saves the universe. You know, it's the main character. And so you kind of have that basic plot line. You kind of have the main character, supporting cast or guide, and then you have kind of what they're trying to accomplish, their mission, their vision, what they're trying to do. And a lot of times, even when people are doing storytelling marketing, one mistake that I see a lot is they position themselves in the wrong seat of that story. You have to identify who the hero is. And it's not you. It's not your company. It's not your business. You're not the hero of the story. Your customer or your client is the hero of the story. Because we got to think and you got to remember that they have a wife and kids. And they have a position, and there you have a boss they're trying to impress, or a company they're trying to grow, and they have ambitions, and in their world, they're the main character, not your company. They are the person who is on this journey. And they don't care about your story. They don't care about being the supporting cast of your story. They don't care about giving you money to make sure that your company grows or that your business does well. They care about their mission and what they're trying to accomplish. And if you can position yourself in the role of the supporting cast and the one that equips them to accomplish their mission, you have their ear every single time because they're looking for that. When they're listening and they hear in the market, I can save the day, I can save the day, I can save the day, and all they can think about is, I want to save the day. I want to be the hero. And you say, hey, I've got what you need to save the day. Then they're like, I want to hear what you have to say. And so in the messaging, when you're telling these stories and you're communicating who your company is or what you're trying to do, or you're working for a company, I'm not sure with this degree, what you hope to do. But in whatever role it is, that's how you want to position that company that you work for or that company that you start. Because if you can do that, you can cut through a lot of noise and really engage with people on a very personal level. I want to show you just another film real quick here that we have. Let me see if I can find it fairly quick. I want to show you a kind of an example of that and see if you can kind of see that pattern in this commercial. This was one that was done for Baptist Health. Let me see if I can get it full screen here. And we'll watch this, and then we'll kind of do some Q&A.
Like a small boat on the ocean, sending big waves into motion. Like how a single word can make a heart open. I might only have one match, but I can make an explosion. And all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain, I will scream them loud tonight. Can you hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on, starting right now. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes, 'cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. No, I still got a lot of fight left in me.
All right. So what do y'all think? I guess the reason why I play that is it kind of wraps up and kind of captures what I'm trying to say, and that is that there's something that can't be measured with touching someone's heart and really kind of connecting with them on an emotional level. And there's something in the structure and the way that you tell that story. That who was the hero in this?
Cancer patient.
The cancer patient, right? So did you see a lot? Was the main focus on Baptist Health? Did we show a bunch of the big building outside or anything like that? Did we talk about the specials they had on X-rays? We didn't get into any of that, did we? So the person and the character that was centered was their customer, their client. That's their patient. The person that they were wanting to reach was that person. And that person was on their journey. That person was overcoming cancer. That person was trying to survive and do what they could do and go on to live, and accomplish things. And so the messaging can be very strong when you do that and when you position that. So does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, my feels.
Where do you typically, is that on TV or is it mostly online advertising or marketing, or where do you
It's okay if I put it on you.
Sure, yeah, we can change it out. That's a good question. So really there's two parts to what we do, and one is developing and crafting that message, and then looking for the right place to distribute that message. And so this ad would be, it's actually on YouTube. It's on all the social media channels. They have great exposure on that. It's on TV as well. They use the images to use in billboards and things of that nature to kind of tie that emotion back to it. And so it was a full campaign for that. But it was all those places. But it's not always like that. Baptist is a little bigger clients, but sometimes of a smaller business. Usually we're trying to find out, okay, what's their budget? What's the best way for them to utilize that and reach their target market. Any other questions? can they hear or ask questions at the other campus? Or they?
All we gotta do is speak up.
Okay.
Get the microphone. You had good reception.
Hey, everybody at other campuses, if you hit your microphone, Jonas is here to answer any questions you have. You might want to ask him how to get a job. He has a few more people, works for his company.
How do you market your own business?
God? How do we market our own business? Really through relationship. We utilize a lot of web, social media. We don't really do we've never done any cold calling, never done any like advertising as far as like traditional advertising such as radio or TV or anything like that. For us, it's a little bit different because it's B2B sales. And so let me just show you one other thing that might answer that a little bit. When we start with a client, it all starts with a strategy. And so for us, you think about the whole concept of a relationship. Well, for us, our average client may spend, 10, 15 grand with us. Well, if we put up a billboard, the chances of them seeing a billboard and not knowing us from Adam and then picking up the phone and say, hey, we want to spend 15 grand with you is probably pretty unlikely. Wouldn't y'all agree? So in any relationship, that's kind of like me going up to my wife when I first met her and being like, I know I've never met you, but let's get married. That's probably not going to happen. So there's processes to move people through a relationship that you have to begin to build trust and demonstrate to them what you know and how to, that you're competent in what you do, and then move them to that next step. So to answer your question for marketing ourselves, we try to create a visibility and a story that kind of surrounds Socially Present and what we do. But as far as introductions and ways to kind of bring people into this funnel is we utilize things like this, or we utilize seminars, or we'll utilize different sponsorships and networking opportunities that just kind of create that top end funnel that bring them to a place to where we can kind of talk and have a deeper conversation about what their business needs. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, you got it.
Right. Good question. Anyone else at the other campuses have any questions? Switch back and forth here. All right. If that's all the questions.
Let me ask a question.
Yes, sir.
For most of the people here, I guess all the people here are looking for a future, having a job and having a career. What kind of skills do you see people having that are creating opportunities in this industry now?
That's a good question. We have a ton of resumes that run across our desk, and what I'm typically looking for is I guess at different stages. In a resume, I like to see a portfolio. I really like to see what have you accomplished, what some sort of creative piece, whether it's because most of what we do is creative, some experience there for sure. And if they get through that phase to where I can kind of see some of what they do and see that there's a talent or even raw talent, and that may not necessarily be fully developed. And I'll say we've had our cinematographer, top notch, never really had any formal training, did this all on his own. Was working at McAllister's before he worked here, and he was doing a wedding that I was at, and I seen some. I was like, man, there's something special about this guy. We hired him on. He'd been phenomenal. He actually won second place for cinematography in the world the first year we entered the 48-hour film project here in Paducah, and top notch. Top notch. So you never really know where that talent has kind of come from. But I like to see, a spark of real creativity and thinking outside the box. One thing we're looking for right now is a creative writer. And I've looked for, most of the resumes I get, it's like I've had experience with press releases and writing blogs and some of these different things. And those are all great skills and very needed for different aspects of marketing. But what I'm looking for is a short storyteller. I want someone who's an author that writes fictions or something that is just out of the box creative. That's kind of what I look for. Now, different marketing agencies look for different things, but that's kind of what we look for, just kind of unique talent and unique creativity, and then passion. That is a big thing, and work ethic. That's also if someone's willing to. A lot of times the reason why I ask for that portfolio as a follow up is someone will send a resume or send an email, and you ask them for that, and you never hear from them again. And if somebody is willing to get it together, put their stuff together, and take the time to present it, that shows me a little bit of work ethic. And usually in that interview process, that's when I'm vetting them more for creative problem solving. So I'll ask questions that are kind of role play, like, so I'm a plumber and I'm trying to grow my business in a new city. What do you suggest? Kind of things, and see how they think on their feet, to whether they're just going to kind of give me, a cookie cutter answer, or be like, well, what about this or that, and see how they think. So does that answer your question?